How's it going out there? It's October 20th. I'm Frank Curzio, host of the Wall Street Unplugged podcast, where I break down the headlines and tell you what's really moving these markets. You know, Daniel, ever since we went to this new format, 3 days a week, like 1 day a week was cool when I had that, hey, and stuff. But when you do it like 3 days, it kind of like, I feel like I'm doing it every day now, right?
Well, you do.
I know. I don't know. I have to come up with a different opening. I don't know. Gotta ask the audience what I should do with that.
There you go.
I just feel like I'm saying it like ideas. 2-3 times a day. I'm not, but it's like every time. It used to be once a week. And now it's like, whoa, you got to get pumped up for that. I don't know how Ellen and all those people do it. Like people that have to, you know, Jimmy Fallon, go on their show and be happy all the time and be excited all the time. I mean, what's your outlet? That's why when they were saying Ellen's like, you know, yelling at people and screaming, I mean, what do you expect? I mean, you know, she's got to be nice there's got to be an outlet for everybody. It's got to be a vice or you're going to just explode. I've seen it so many times. Anyway.
It's like a one-hit wonder, you know, you're going to get sick of playing the same song. Is that what you're saying? You're going to have to change it up a little bit?
Yeah.
You're tired of being, you know, that hit or something?
Yeah, exactly. So Daniel Creech here, obviously. Senior research analyst or something here?
Many things, Frank. Thank you very much.
A lot of things. Daniel's been coming in. He left the office really late yesterday and came in very, very early today. And I felt like being the guy from Succession and being like, all right, whatever you're thinking of or whatever you want, it's not happening. So, and he even said that to me. This is why I thought it was so funny.
Frank either thinks I'm asking for a raise or I'm about to tell him I screwed something up really big. So
yeah,
it's kind of somewhere in the middle is all right.
Yeah, I'm not used to that. Anyway, a lot to talk about today. Let's start with earnings, right? I mean, a lot of earnings coming out. You're going to see this over the next couple of weeks. And I don't know. Daniel, I'll let you start. What do you want to start with?
Well, I'll let you, I'll tee one up here for you, only because you already brought up Succession, which I've only seen one episode of that, and it was good. Frank talked about that in his monologue the other day. Interesting, entertaining, I get that. But since you brought up a show, let's talk about another one. What is this Squid Game here, Frank? Have you seen this?
Yes.
Because Netflix reported solid earnings, and I'm assuming that, I didn't really go through it. This is Frank's ballpark. He loves Netflix, and a segue into his drinking game favorite company that we'll talk about in a minute.
You see why Netflix is the king, right? You see why Netflix is the king. And the numbers are good. I wouldn't say they were fantastically great. Asia Pacific's on fire. That's a growth model for Netflix going forward. Subscribers used to be the KPI, right? Key performance indicator. That was like every stock has something you want to look at, right? And it's not always earnings, and you know that's going to drive the stock. It's not always sales. Sometimes it is subscribers, sometimes average revenue per user, which no one cares about average revenue per user, or Disney would have crashed already because Disney's like at $450, $475, and Netflix is like, you know, more than double, triple that, which tells you they have pricing power, which tells you there's a lot of free people on Disney's platform, which is starting to come off, and that's why you started downgrading slower growth, and now they're realizing that streaming, which I've said for freaking many times, many years, it's one of the hardest businesses to be in. You know, just the costs to constantly come out with new content. And that's what it's about, right? Squid Game came out. I'm up to episode 7. And
out of how many? Is this thing brand
9.
new?
It's 9 for the first season. But what Netflix does, it allows you to watch all 9 at the same time. Back to back to back to back. Well, even some streaming services still, they're like, here, we're having streaming, and then next week it come out. You got to wait next week. It's not like, you know, SVU or one of these, you know, shows on television. So you get to watch the whole thing and you binge watch it. But they said, this number is just like insane. 142 million member households, 142 million member households globally have chosen to watch this show in its first 4 weeks. Now, that number, you know, if you look at Facebook and say, well, they got 2 billion, this and that, whatever. I mean, how many are active, real true active users? You know, it's lower than that. But I'm going to put that in perspective. There's only 123 million households in the U.S., right? So 142 million in 4 weeks. And it's entertaining. I don't want to go out there and say it's great, because I went in with low expectations and I like it, but I know some people say, it's not that good. I thought it was good. It's violent. It's original. You know, you've read these stories in books. There's not many 2 movies, Hunger Games maybe, but not really. But it's really, it's cool. It's a great show. It's entertaining as hell. I like it a lot. But it just goes to show you how important it is when it comes to, you know, new content. But getting back to that KPI and subscribers used to be, you know, that's the number that everybody wanted to see. And that's why Disney was smart. Let's partner with Verizon. Everybody gets a service for free. And I have Verizon. I have a family plan. I called there and said, hey, you know, I'm going to get it for you. Like, no, you have it for life, for free. Well, you know, because those subscriber numbers were driving the stock during a time, the worst period maybe in Disney's, I wouldn't say history, but pretty close to that in the last 30 years, because COVID affected this company, impacted this company more than any other company, major company. You can even say more than the airlines. The airlines are coming back right now, but Disney does not have this recurring revenue stream, which, means that they had to find ways, and their earnings, they're one of the few companies in the Dow. And I bet you Boeing, I don't know if they did already, but Boeing's probably going to reinstate their dividend. They're one of the few companies that didn't reinstate its dividend because they can't pay it, right? The expenses that they have are incredible. They can't afford to keep up with Time Warner, AT&T, which has recurring revenue, and they're starting to really build that platform internationally. They can't keep up with Netflix. These guys are spending $20 billion a year. Disney's not. It's new content, and their new content consists of Marvel, and they can't stream that. They already got in trouble. Someone almost sued them because they wanted to stream it. That's their biggest generator, right, from the movies. And the movies are doing great, but those Marvel titles generate $1 billion plus in the movies, not in streaming. So they're caught in a really bad place right now because all these subscribers that are in for free are starting to dump off. They don't have pricing power. You see something like this with Netflix come out. You see Session come out, HBO and streaming. So it's just, when I see this and what Netflix is doing, it's really incredible. But just 142 million member households. I mean, you're looking at 400, 500 million people watching this thing, maybe more. When it comes to households, they're building a gaming platform as well, which is going to be included in subscriptions and everything, and not going to have advertisements or anything. They're going to get more people on that platform, and they have incredible pricing power. They're the king of this market. It's just subscribers. It's a saturated market. Everybody has streaming. I don't think subscribers is going to be the number looking forward. It has to be the number for Disney because they just don't have the revenue or the earnings. Their earnings are still not going to get back to pre-COVID levels probably for another 2 years, which is insane. A lot of companies are reporting, numbers back to those levels or even higher than 2019 pre-COVID levels. It just shows the big disconnect where, Disney's not second here. Time Warner is now, AT&T in that platform, the HBO. But Disney here, I don't know what they're going to do. I have nothing against Disney. I go there and take my kids. I like them. From a stock perspective, their biggest growth market, Daniel, is streaming. That's what they based their whole company on. They went all in on streaming, and you're seeing much, much slower growth. Yet that stock is trading at 40 times forward earnings. Why in the hell would you pay 40 times forward earnings for a stock that's going to show significantly slower growth going forward? But who knows? Again, sometimes the numbers don't matter. And with this report from Netflix, it just shows how they're the clear leader. Nobody's even close to them. And AT&T, Time Warner, they're second. Disney is falling, and it's going to be interesting to see what they do to really, how they're going to back out of this, or say, hey, well, we're not going all in. It's just going to be part of our platform. But they're stuck between a rock and a hard place right now. It should be interesting over the next few months to see what they announce.
Yeah, Disney's down, from 200 a share in March-ish to 170 right now, so it's definitely pulled back. AT&T reports tomorrow, I believe, so that'll be interesting to see some comments that they have on their streaming, gaining market share and all that kind of thing.
That's falling off. That's one of our ones on our portfolio, down about 9% on it. It hasn't been good. For me, I think, and I'm not saying this where you're early and you're wrong, but I just think the separation and what they did with their platforms to separate new business and discovery is a fantastic, fantastic thing. They provide a tremendous value. It's going to take a while to get the approvals, and now you're sitting here as a shareholder going, dividend's going to be a little bit less, but still, when they come out with their numbers, I expect them to be pretty good, but the streaming numbers should be even great because they have a lot of great new content that's coming out, and that they just launched as well, which you should see that in when they report streaming results.
Yeah. Sticking with earnings, you made a great, you told me a solid bullet point from United that reported earlier.
Yeah.
And I want to use that to talk about Southwest and a big win for society in general. So the bullet there was...
lots of bullets. United CEO was on CNBC. He said pullback in demand has definitely bottomed out and demand is improving.
Those are strong words. I mean, that's great to hear.
These guys didn't fudge their numbers. They told you when things were really bad, right? So holiday international demand is strong. Thinks business travel will start to return again in January. European bookings are up versus 2019. That's a huge surprise to me. They say 99.7% of employees are vaccinated, which we'll get into, the Southwest thing. Air travel remains a great bargain. Airplanes will be full for the holidays. Demand's robust and strong. Again, buying the airlines here, they're trading significantly off their COVID highs. These guys have incredible pricing power. Everybody's going to need to travel. Everything is going to open up. It could take 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, a year from now when everything opens up internationally. These guys are going to be raked. They were reporting record profits before this happened. Now they're leaner than ever. And wait till you see with the prices, you guys know if you're traveling, the price that they're charging. I mean, profits are going to explode for these guys. It could take a little bit longer, but buying at these levels, maybe you have 10% risk here, and I think you have 50% plus upside. So let's get to your nice. South.
Well, real quick, I mean, just from a macro standpoint, I mean, we talked about this with Delta earnings. They had positive comments on bookings picking up, not quite back to COVID levels on travel and business and all that, where their high margins are. But hell, for lack of a better word, from a human being standpoint, from a society standpoint, it's good to hear these major corporations say that bookings have bottomed, that people are getting back out. Unless Fauci and everybody else tries to cancel Christmas this year, people are, getting fed up and want to return to life. And I don't even want to use the term life as normal or life before COVID, because that's kind of conceding the fact that you're willing to change and you've already given in. So don't talk like that, people. Keep your head on your shoulders and keep moving forward. This Southwest thing is even better.
I can't wait. You know how I'm teeing up for you because this is, go ahead.
Well, because we talked about the problems that Southwest had more than any other airline. They blame the weather, of course, which is easy. And they were saying that it wasn't really the pilot strike that was causing a lot of the cancellations. It was more weather and maybe some technical problems, what have you. But CNBC reported, I believe it was yesterday, that they're basically, Frank, backing off of the mandatory vaccine mandates. They're not going to fire, they're not going to lay off people by a certain date. They're just stepping back, which is ironic and funny because they're out of Texas. Texas just signed we talked about that, executive order banning the mandating of a vaccine requirement. However, this is just good news because it shows that, hey, enough people united, stood up against it. I hate for people to lose their jobs, but I have to, if I had a hat on, I'd tip it to them for everybody that stood together and was willing to lose. Or think of the stress that you have. I don't have anybody else dependent on me. But if you're married and have children and you're working your ass off and you need a paycheck just to continue, to keep the wolf away, as my late grandfather would say, because you got rising prices everywhere, the ability to say, hey, I'm willing to get fired or go without pay for a choice, that's amazing, and that needs to be rewarded. So to see this, I hope other companies follow suit. I hope governments, governors, state legislators follow suit and either back off the mandatory requirement or at least start fighting for the individuals that have a choice and want to voice that. There's nothing wrong with saying that, people. So, yeah, this is great on Southwest. And Frank, interrupt me here, but I want to talk to why it's more important than just airlines, too.
Well, Southwest, you know why they did that, right? They reversed. They did it because they had to. They don't have a choice. And this is going to set up for something that's very interesting in the months ahead as we mandate. I'm a good example of this where, I was forced to get the vaccine, right? I was forced. Which is frustrating. So now I'm forced to get it, even though I had COVID. I didn't want to get it. I got it because I have to, because I'm going to travel, right? So that's me. When it comes to your pilots, you saw how many flights got canceled, right? So this is their union, Southwest Airlines Pilots Association. They came out and said the new vaccine mandate unlawfully imposes new conditions of employment. New policy threatens termination of every pilot not fully vaccinated by December 8th. They lose a pilot, they lose a company. Pilots have...
You're saying pilots are important to flying? That's
a little bit.
That's an integral piece of the puzzle. Okay.
Yeah, a little bit. But think about flying, right? It's a necessity, right? You can't travel. If you cannot travel, it would destroy economies every place. If you can't travel, right? So, pilots have incredible power. If they walk off, holy shit! And we saw the cancellations, right? It's not weather. Like weather in Florida. We live in Florida. Weather's pretty good. We were golfing and stuff some afternoons, and yeah, weather was good here. That was bullshit. But getting to a bigger point is, how do they enforce these mandates? How do they do it? Because I think when you're looking at different organizations or unions, they have incredible power. You saw the Chicago Police Department say the same thing. We're going to lose a lot of our workforce. Imagine if there's no cops, which a lot of people, want to destroy America. But, most people, you need a police, you need them there, you need that safety. And they're saying that a lot of people aren't going to show up to work. But, I think people in general, this is going to be a revolution. It really is, because there's people that are just like, I'm not getting the vaccine. I don't care what you say. And it's not a big deal if you're a coach of a team that got fired or Kyrie Irving's not playing or whatever, for the Nets right now. But when you're looking at pilots, when you're looking at police officers, when you're looking at nurses, now, holy shit, right? Now you're seeing businesses going to be impacted as well. And it's frustrating because, again, I was forced to get vaccinated. And now I'm poking around the CES site because I plan to go there. And now they're saying that, not to mention, I'm going to have to wear a freaking big thing on my neck, right? That my vaccinated card. I'm vaccinated, and I don't let you in vaccinated, right? I got to show everyone I'm vaccinated. Here you go. Now I have to wear a mask as well. Why the fuck do I have to wear a mask if I'm vaccinated? So that's what pisses me off. Now I'm like, okay, so now I got to wear a mask, and I go there 4 or 5 days, the whole entire time. That's what it is in Vegas, most of the casinos, and even the conferences. But remember when getting the vaccine, Daniel, meant that, hey, once you get the vaccine, you're not going to get COVID. You're going to be fine. That was it. And you won't have to wear masks. That was the pitch. right? Now we know that these vaccines don't work in regards to what they originally said they were going to do to protect you from getting COVID again. Now it's like, hey, no, but those vaccines are protecting you. They're reducing your risk if you get Delta and you produce, of dying. That's not what you told us, though, right? So no. 95, 96, 94% efficacy means I'm good. I get this. I'm good. Now it's booster shots everywhere, but you see in countries based on population have vaccinated, the highest, right, is Israel and UK, right? So I think they have something like 80, 90% of their population vaccinated. Delta is spreading like wildfire. In the UK, I think it's just beginning to back off, but it's 80% of the people in the UK over 12 are vaccinated with both doses. And they're recording 50 cases per day, 50,000 cases per day, meaning that the people who have vaccinated are the ones that are getting Delta. And you could see it with studies with Israel where it's 6-7x likely that, when it comes to getting a Delta virus, that you'll get it if you never got COVID before and got vaccinated, compared to if you had COVID before, because the antibodies are still working. They don't want to come up with a study here in the U.S., obviously, right? It's very easy to see those results. But then you look at Israel, close to 90% vaccinated, tons of boosters, and it was 11,000 cases per day. This is about 3 to 4 weeks ago. Now it's below 2,000. But Delta is spreading like a wildfire, again, slowing down these areas finally, thank God. But, they just completely lied to us, right? So now now you're saying you got to mandate something that you lied to us about. And I'm not saying it doesn't protect you if you get, again, you guys know I know all freaking statistics. I've been, deep in this for over, a year and a half, one of the early people talking about this and interviewing people. But just the whole bullshit behind this, Daniel, is very frustrating. It's, we've been lied to. Just tell us the truth. And now it's like, hey, we're going to force you to wear masks. You got to get a booster. We're going to mandate that you get this, or we're going to take away your freedoms. We're not going to let you go indoors or places or see different things or go on planes. I mean, now you have these people fighting back. Something's got to give, because when it comes to the pilots, you have no choice. Southwest has no choice. You lose your business. If they walk off, you're gone. No one's going to fly Southwest, and there's other options. But when you have something like that with pilots, police, nurses that are like, hey, I'm not freaking doing this. I mean, how are you going to mandate it? How are you going to enforce this? And that's going to be interesting coming up, which is like a December 8th deadline. I think that, Biden's going crazy with, mandates, whatever.
Real quick on your point, and I'm not accusing you of this, but everybody needs to take this with a grain of salt because, yes, of course they lied, because it's more about control and everything else. I mean, the mandatory, like now, are you going to take your booster in 6, 7, 8 months or whatever? And are you on the hook to take them forever? Because that's what the pharmaceuticals are lining up to do. So that's how it affects everybody in their lives. And the way this affects the economy, more so than just Frank talked about police's officers and different things. San Francisco, I think there was something like 3.5% of police officers are unvaccinated. So what if they get cut? That's a decent sized chunk to a police force. Mm-hmm. Walgreens is already either moving out of San Francisco or closing stores early because of not only requirements, but also, if you're allowed to steal damn near $1,000 and not get in trouble, what's going to keep people from walking in and stealing stuff? And then, Frank, are you an In-N-Out burger fan?
No, I'm not an In-N-Out burger, only because I haven't been to, a lot of In-N-Out burgers. So
okay. Have you ever had it though?
I think I had it once or twice.
All right. I like it. There's a cool thing, and there's this whole underground world thing with, there's several out in Arizona, when I was out there, and I had it a handful of times, but there's like this underground menu. You go there and you can order stuff if you know the certain language, and different places do that. That was kind of fun. My experience with it real quick, I had a t-shirt from In-N-Out. My uncle got me. Okay. Mm-hmm. I had never been there. Every time I wore this t-shirt, people would stop me and say, oh, isn't that so great? And have you had, what's your favorite? I'm like, what? Oh, yeah, I've never been there. I started having to lie to people, and I don't like to lie. They'd be like, oh man, isn't that a great burger? Oh, hell yeah, man. Get the number 2 or get the number 3. I'd change it up every once in a while. But it is good. However, their chief legal and business officer, Arnie Weisinger, was explaining how San Francisco Department of Health closed one of the top California burger chain restaurant. Why? Because the employees at In-N-Out Burger failed to basically frisk, rob, stop, and ask customers for proof of driver's license, vaccination cards, et cetera, et cetera. And I love this quote by this chief legal guy. He says, quote, "We refuse to become the vaccination police for any government. It is unreasonable, invasive, and unsafe to force our restaurant associates to segregate customers." That is exactly how this trickles down into everyday ordinary life in the economy. The economy is the most important thing from a society standpoint in a lot of regards because it gives people the opportunity to continue to better themselves. You start taking away businesses out of economies, you start taking away police enforcement, and you get more and more chaos. And it's really hard not to make the argument that that's exactly what the powers that be to want based on their actions like this. If you think that In-N-Out Burger employees need to ask if you want fries with that, plus your driver's license and proof of vaccination, and be the police enforcement, you're as crazy as the people at the top right now.
Yeah, and guys, we're talking about this, and everyone has their own opinions, probably depending on what political party you're part of. But this impacts stocks. I mean, Southwest took a nice 10-15% dive on this, right, since October. So it's going to impact certain businesses, but it will be interesting to see going forward how you're going to mandate this. Where you could do it to regular people and stuff, and people going to conferences, but when it comes to some of these groups that have incredible power, where they have the power to shut down a business if they don't show up to work, all because they don't want to get vaccinated. Maybe they had COVID, maybe they have their own reasons. Again, a lot of these people are saying, well, not like anti-vax. And I feel like you have to say that all the time if you don't want to get the shot. I'm not anti-vax. That's what everybody has to say, right? It has to say. It's almost if you're talking about racial relations, you're like, hey, you have to admit that you have a black friend or something, right? Before you talk about it. It's just, to be politically correct. But a lot of this factors in down to stocks. It did factor into Southwest. We'll see how it goes forward. But if Southwest, still has problems with this, or delayed flights, or pilots walk off, doesn't look like it's going to happen anymore. But look for the other airlines to really benefit tremendously, because that's, if I'm booking something, I go through Expedia or wherever, and Southwest isn't there, I'm going to fly Delta, United, American, or whatever. I'm going to fly something else, and other companies are going to benefit. So keep an eye on this, because this is a big pushback. This is a very big story. You're going to see more and more groups push back. And some of them nobody cares about. Others impact the economy, impact a lot of people, money flowing into the system, and it is an interesting trend that you should follow, because there are going to be a lot of stocks get impacted. Now, let's go into Facebook. I got two more subjects real quick. I wanted to talk about Facebook, which is your favorite company in the world, Daniel, I think, right?
Yeah, to recommend. Makes me look like a genius.
That's another thing, right? Whenever you say Facebook, you're like, oh, I hate the company, but buy the stock. Everybody says that, right?
Well, I don't know about everybody, but I've been on that beat for a while, because I don't even use it. I don't. I'm not a big fan of Zuckerberg. I don't believe in his one world vision, control, and all that kind of stuff. However, in the world of reality investing, it is a great risk reward setup. It is connected with the highest, most goofy people in governments. I don't need to rehash this and beat this dead horse, because I've already said that enough. But it's pulled back. It was down about 15% from its previous highs of $380. If you haven't, I would add that. As long as you can put your conscience aside, Frank, this makes Goldman Sachs look like the nicest, most welcoming people in the woods when you're stranded and trying to get through. It's like a Game of Thrones thing. When you're hungry and dying, they come to your rescue, and that ain't reality either. That's how good Facebook is.
Yeah, it's down about 12% from its highs. Again, there's a lot of news, though, that came out, right, in the past few days, actually. Yeah. So they're changing their name.
Well, that's a rumor. They're probably going to change the holding company name. Yeah, we'll see if...
to reflect, as I said, they're reflecting more of building the metaverse, which is, merging augmented reality and virtual reality, which is unbelievable. I mean, this is a massive, massive, massive trend, especially when you look at Facebook, whatever it is, 20% of the world's population has a Facebook account. And these virtual worlds are really cool. I've seen them. I've been in them. It's unbelievable. It's really cool. Like what is it? Ready Player One, I think it's called. So that movie was about it. The movie doesn't do justice compared to the book. When you're looking at metaverse, it's a trend. When you start researching, it's amazing. I'm going to be into this trend. So is our company. I think it's really, really cool. I'm exploring it a lot. I have great contacts, but this is going. You're going to see next 3-4 years this thing really, really develop. They're hiring 10,000 people in the EU over the next 5 years just to build this metaverse platform. Also, Facebook came out and said that, Coinbase is going to be the custodian for the digital wallet. So, that digital wallet's important, right? So it's going to allow anyone on Facebook, again, 2 billion plus people around the world, to send money with no fees and send it instantly, which is a very, very big deal. Coinbase went up on that news, as well as Facebook. But, when I look at Facebook and changing that, what are they going to change their name to? You have any guesses?
Probably something like "Get in line, sheep. We own you," or "Own all your info."
Big Brother Meta or something like that.
Yeah, that'd be kind of cool.
Yeah, something like that. But when you see this world, I mean, you're gonna have full control basically, because you have one world that you live in, but this is a different world. You have an avatar. You can go in. You can buy different things through it. You can go to different, classes. You could have online classes. You could basically watch a game. That's live in this world through and sit on the pitcher's mound and watch the pitcher pitch. It's unbelievable of where this could go when you start thinking about it, and your brain just goes crazy when you start researching it. But you're right, Facebook, I think it's a great buy here no matter what happens.
And let's not forget, all this is a lot of distraction from the whistleblowers and all the other bad press they're getting about how they use your information, how they're not completely honest with you. Blah, 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 blah. Same old song and dance, Frank.
Yeah, no, same old song and dance. So Facebook, I agree with you. I think it's a buy here. Still the greatest platform ever.
But the Coinbase news,
a ton of money in terms of advertising revenue.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's a great business model in the sense, and it's a high margin business. And like I said, they're connected. Just ignore all the fears of breaking them up. That's not going to hurt the company. Transitioning there, because of the wallet is a huge deal. The Coinbase announcement is a huge deal for what that's going to go forward. That's an easy transition to crypto because Bitcoin hit an all-time high today.
Yeah.
So we gotta look out for everybody and the bears calling for another crash now. But that's just neat to see that market continue to chug higher in the face of negative headlines and all kinds of stuff. But it just shows that, hey, more people are going to continue to gravitate towards that. You can't not change the inner workings of what's going on to create Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies surging without expecting it to continue to surge. So nothing in reality that made Facebook look good a year or 2 years ago or 6 months ago is changing, which is a reason that it's still going to continue upward and be volatile as it does.
So, I mean, we're seeing Bitcoin at all-time highs today, right? So the new ETF was launched. BITO is a symbol. If you are a retail investor, guys, do not touch this thing at all. It is not for you. This is mostly for institutions. This is based on the future market. You could be, buying this thing when it trades at a significant premium, which is most likely since they're buying futures and the contract's rolling over. I won't get into the complicated. It's complicated, but just there's so many ways to buy Bitcoin. You don't have to do it through here. You go SoFi, BlockFi, Gemini, eToro, Robinhood, Coinbase. There's so many ways that you can buy Bitcoin. You can buy it really cheap in some of those places. But
remember, you don't need minimum. So put $1,000, put $100. You don't need to buy an entire Bitcoin and all that. That's one of the beauties behind it. That's good stuff with you. Sorry.
No, but the bigger point here, this is a milestone, right? So now it opens up the floodgates where there's a lot of ETFs in the works, and you got to look at security token ETFs. You got to look at ETFs everywhere. I mean, it's funny because there's going to be a DeFi one coming out, which Goldman registered for, and this is about 2 months ago. If you're not familiar with DeFi, it's a massive market, 80 billion, huge growth potential, growing tremendously. But it's ironic, right? If you think about it, Dan, because DeFi stands for decentralized finance. This is about eliminating the middleman, right? So the middleman makes so much money, and we have, investment banks, Wall Street, they make a fortune on all these fees that they charge, basically being a middleman. Yes, they do more things, it create products and stuff like that, but a lot of it is fees. And it hasn't been disrupted, right? Really. And now you're seeing this disruption come in, which is through DeFi, which is through crypto. And again, about eliminating the middleman on Wall Street. Goldman is the biggest middleman in investment banking, and they're the ones launching this DeFi ETF. So a little ironic there, but it just goes to show you how the largest banks in the world have no choice. They have to get into crypto. They have to get into Bitcoin. There's a whole nother level of things going on right now within crypto and growth trends. The foundation's been built, but seeing it at highs right now, a lot of momentum behind it. I like the fact that it came down twice to around a $40,000 level. I mean, I think if it comes back down and pulls off of this, people are going to buy it because they felt like they missed it. It's a limited supply. It's a play on almost every risk that you have in the marketplace today, which is, inflation, which is I hate the governments, I hate Wall Street, I hate money printing. It just has so many factors. And as Bitcoin goes up, remember, when you see a market go up, the crappiest and the shittiest names go up the most. Just like when the market comes down, those are names that go down the most. But a lot of stuff is going to benefit, but there's a lot of great names within the crypto space that are amazing. They're focusing on the biggest trends within this industry, which is like the next layer. I won't call it crypto 2.0, but that the foundation's built. But really exciting stuff. And now, for me, I'm just waiting. I need to see, Daniel, another Peter Schiff tweet that it's going to zero, because that's usually the sign to buy. And he always does that when it goes right at the bottom, like 40, but he hasn't been talking about Bitcoin, saying it's going to go, it's going to crash. We need that. We can't have everyone on one side loving Bitcoin or loving crypto. We need those people to say, hey, you know what, this thing could crash. And right now you don't have that. So that makes me a little worried where we could, we'll break through, but it could pull back a little bit, but it'll be interesting. Either way, long term, this is here. You have to get in it, and it's an amazing market.
Yeah, well said. I mean, it's going to be volatile, but yeah, that's good. Nothing goes straight up forever, and that's fine. So yeah, just write this down, and as good as you feel right now when prices go up, remember that when prices are going against you. And that's just a good lesson to learn, and you gotta put money to work in order to achieve that. It's just something you got to do, so do it.
Yeah, and the last thing I was just going to mention here is just, supply chain issues, guys. I get reports on this on a weekly basis. I just got a IHS market report, which is, one of the best in the industry, track auto production. Right now, I think it's something like 210 billion of lost sales. That was an estimate from a previous firm, Alex Partners, I think, and that was from 2 months ago. That's a conservative estimate. These numbers are going down in third quarter. They got reduced in Q4. You saw ARM Holdings, a large chip manufacturer, come out and say this is lasting definitely into next year. So is it priced in? It might be priced in a little bit, but it's going to impact a lot of companies. And you're seeing it even with the biggest in the world, with Apple, right? Lowering, 10% cuts due to production delays and stuff like that on a new iPhone. Auto companies is going to extend, but it's interesting. It takes a long time to build fab plants. But one of the funniest things that I saw within this, right? We all know the problems. We all know inflation. But Buttigieg, right? Buttigieg is the transportation sector, whatever. He was saying, they had him on CNBC, and saying the supply chain crisis is due to Biden guiding the country out of recession. That's what he said. So since the supply chain is broken down, goods can't get in, and inflation is skyrocketing. But that's a great thing. That's a great thing because Biden is saving the economy. Why can't anyone on any side of the aisle just address the problem and fix it? Why do they have to spin it as something that's positive? Because anyone that's looking at this, seeing the inflation, Dan, there's more of a disconnect between asset classes than has ever been. If you own assets, you're getting incredibly wealthy because low interest rates and money pouring into the system. And if you don't, it's a very difficult environment. It's not easy. Everything's much more expensive. It's widening. And for this administration to come in and say, hey, this is really good because we're coming out of recession. I'm like, things are great. So the supply chain issues all messed. It's just another reason why, politics, man, you got to hate this stuff. It's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, just don't make the assumption that the smartest people in the room are at the top and in positions of power. That's an easy lesson.
Yeah, not very well said. But again, a lot of times when we're bringing up politics, and we have our own opinions like everybody else, but it always relates back to the stock market. The supply chain issues are for real. We've been talking about them well ahead of everybody else. I feel like I told you, Ford and GM have access to the same data I have access to, and they were lying out their teeth telling you, everything's okay, and it's going to be a second quarter problem. Again, they lied to you. And then now they're talking EV portfolios and upgrading based on Rivian and Ford and stuff. The future looks bright for these guys with EVs, but, and by the way, Tesla, you see where that stock's going? I mean, it's...
No, I haven't followed it in a while.
New highs, I think, pushing 900 almost. They, pulled back a little bit off of that, but holy cow. But, these guys were first to the party. You don't see any other electric vehicles on the market right now. Maybe you see a couple, but it's just, they're just light years ahead of everyone. So it is going to be interesting to see how this trend develops over the next 3, 4, 5 years. Hopefully it develops incredibly because all these auto companies are basing everything on this. But first things first, if you don't have cars to sell, you're not generating revenue, and that's going to hurt your earnings. So there's only a certain point where you could look and say, discount it for Ford and GM and say, hey, these stocks are still doing pretty well, but we know things are going to get better. But we're pushing into, a good 6 months that were terrible. Now it's going to be 12 months, going to be 18 months. Eventually a lot of that stuff's going to be factored in with all the money you want to spend. So, on building your EV portfolios, I'd be careful. I'd watch out for that. I just think it's going to last a lot longer than expected and hurt a lot of these companies, which you're seeing right now. Even some of the suppliers, for the chip suppliers that for the Apple iPhone, like Skyworks and Broadcom, they're also warning as well, saying, we're having trouble, getting parts, producing these chips and stuff like that. So it is a very, very big problem.
Yeah.
So.
Well said.
That's it.
That's it.
I think we're done here. I think we're perfectly done. I think we covered so much. Other than Procter & Gamble really quick. I mean, we covered Netflix. Procter & Gamble, I thought, had very, very good earnings. They talked about prices were being raised. I looked at that quarter. I thought it was a very, very good quarter. Solid dividend. Again, it's not the most exciting company, but I was just surprised that that company was kind of going to be like, out of the early companies reporting. And that was a pretty good report. And I don't know if it's because expectations were bad, but, they really, they did a good job of managing costs. It was one of the quarters I looked at where, organic sales, every one of the divisions showed growth. Organic sales grew by 7%. Personal healthcare outperformed Yeah, it was just every division, grew a little bit, and it was much better than expected. And they're handling the inflationary concerns, which means that they're able to pass off those higher prices to consumers. So I thought that was a really good number for conservative investors. P&G, I like where they are. I think the stock is cheap here.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's a lot of risk in that name. I just think that they definitely warned of higher costs going forward, and we'll see what that pressure's on margins like. But everybody should know that and be aware of that for everybody just with general inflation. So something we've been talking about for quite some time.
No, I hear you. All right, guys. So Dan, thanks so much for coming on. I appreciate it. We covered a lot today, as we always do. Questions, comments, refer to email frankcurzioresearch.com, or Daniel, what's your email address?
Daniel@curzioresearch.com, Frank.
I always make you say
know that.
All right, guys. So listen, today we're going to launch a really cool video. It's all on crypto. Just an incredible growth market, as you can see what's going on right now. But, some people are still not in this sector, even though we've been saying, you have to have access to this for at least the last 3 years. That's why I started Crypto Intelligence 4 years ago. But now that foundation has been built, there's so many growth markets within this that are incredible. So a lot of amazing names in this space, a lot in our portfolio where investors can get on the ground floor, which they can't really do in the markets right now. I mean, that results in unbelievable life-changing returns. If you could buy some of these companies in the ground floor, not when they come out 30, 40, 50, 60 billion valuations, which they IPO at, or 5, 10, 15, 20 billion valuations, what you see SPACs come out for, right? So as a retail investor, it's difficult. This is a market where you could have access to great companies on the ground floor if you listen to the right person to avoid all the BS and stuff like that. So I sent out a full video. It's short. Take a look, because I'm also going to give away one of my favorite crypto ideas. It's for free. Offer an incredible discount to Crypto Intelligence because I'm getting tons of people that want to subscribe, which makes sense, right? We're seeing crypto go higher. There's a lot more interest in it. But the returns that we're seeing in this industry, 10x, 20x, 30x gains. And I'm going to show you a snapshot of my actual portfolio. You're going to see the portfolio. You're going to see some of the losers in there as well. I think the average position is up 640%. Think about that as an investor. I mean, these gains are inside 2 to 3 years. Some are just 6 to 8 months old. Someone's been doing this for a long time. You don't see gains like this quickly. I mean, I've never seen in my 30-year career, close to 30-year career, where you can get these types of gains. And this is a market where you can get in ahead of Wall Street. You can get into a lot of ideas. There's a little bit of a learning curve. We teach you everything, how to buy these things on exchanges and stuff like that. But this is the lowest price that we're offering it since we launched this thing 4 years ago. And it's good for 7 days. That video's out. But even if you're not going to subscribe, definitely worth your time. Take a look just to learn the potential of what's coming down the pipeline, the growth markets within crypto, and how you could actually play this through different, exchanges, different ways to play it. So everything is in that video, and it's a short video. It's not a long video, trust me. So it's pretty cool. So questions, comments, feel free to email me, frankcurzioresearch.com. Dan, thank you so much again for coming on. That's it for me. Really appreciate all support, and I'll see you tomorrow with the fantastic interview of a company whose valuation based on the latest capital raise last month is over $1 billion, a fantastic company that fits right into the heart of what we're doing here, which is tokenization. So great stuff. That's tomorrow. I'll see you then. Take care.